There are moments in life when everything around you feels like it's moving too fast, like you're standing in the middle of a storm with no shelter in sight. You wake up in the morning and the weight on your chest feels heavier than yesterday. You look at your plans, your dreams, your responsibilities, and suddenly they all seem bigger than you. You whisper to yourself, and my life feels out of control. And in that whisper, there's both fear and truth. But I want you to know this. The feeling of losing control does not mean you have lost yourself. Sometimes life pushes you, stretches you, shakes you not to break you but to waken you. When everything falls apart, it is often the universe's way of clearing the space for something greater to rise. The moments when you feel the weakest are often the moments right before you discover your strength. You see, you don't need to have every answer. You don't need to fix your whole life tonight. You don't need to pretend you're okay when you're exhausted inside. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to be human. When your life feels out of control, it's usually because you've been trying to carry everything alone. You've been trying to be the healer, the warrior, the provider, the peacekeeper, the strong one, all at once. And no one, absolutely no one, can live that way forever. At some point, you must slow down long enough to hear your own soul whispering. Come back to yourself. You regain control not by forcing life to behave, but by choosing one small thing you can manage in this moment. Maybe it's choosing kindness toward yourself. Maybe it's choosing to let go of something you were never meant to hold. Maybe it's choosing rest. Maybe it's choosing courage. Control isn't found in the outside world. It begins inside you. And let me tell you a truth that took years to understand. When life feels chaotic, it is not a sign that you're failing. It is a sign that you're growing. Growth is uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable. But discomfort is the birthplace of transformation. So when you say, my life feels out of control, let that be your starting point, not your ending. Let it be the moment you step into a new chapter where you choose clarity over chaos, intention over impulse, peace over pressure. You may not be able to control everything, but you can control how you respond, how you rise, and how you rebuild. And slowly, beautifully, your life begins to shift one breath at a time, one choice at a time, one day at a time, because you are stronger than this storm, and you are going to find your way back. When you begin to acknowledge the feeling that your life is out of control, you take the very first courageous step toward healing, because nothing changes until you name what is happening inside you. So often people try to outrun their emotions or hide from the truth because facing it feels too heavy or too painful, but denying it only makes the weight grow stronger. When you say out loud that life feels overwhelming, you release the pressure that has been building inside you for far too long. You stop pretending that everything is fine, and you allow yourself to breathe with honesty for the first time in a long time. Acknowledging the feeling is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of emotional strength, because it means you are willing to face the reality you have been avoiding. It takes maturity and courage to say, I am not okay right now. It takes clarity to recognize that something inside you needs attention. And once you recognize it, you can finally begin the process of understanding what is really happening and why you feel the way you do. Every heavy moment you carry has a root. Sometimes it is stress from responsibilities, or fear of the future, or pain from the past, or pressure to perform, or exhaustion from trying to be everything for everyone. When you ignore these feelings, they grow. When you acknowledge them, they begin to soften. You give yourself permission to feel without judgment. You tell yourself that it is okay to struggle, because struggle is part of being human. There is power in saying the truth even when the truth is uncomfortable. You cannot shift what you refuse to see. You cannot heal what you pretend is is not hurting. Many people spend years living behind emotional walls because they are afraid that if they admit their struggles, the world will think less of them. But the real danger is not in admitting the truth. The real danger is losing yourself in silence. Acknowledging the feeling brings you back to yourself. It reconnects you with the part of you that knows you deserve peace. It reminds you that your emotions are valid and that your experiences matter. Once you acknowledge the feeling, you create space for clarity. You begin to see patterns you did not recognize before. You notice what drains your energy. You notice what triggers your anxiety. You notice what keeps pulling you away from balance. Clarity does not always fix things immediately, but it gives you a map. It shows you where you are standing emotionally, and it shows you the direction you need to walk. Without acknowledgement, there is no map. There is only confusion and inner chaos. But once you are honest with yourself, you gain back a little bit of power. Acknowledging the feeling also opens the door for support. When you allow yourself to say, I need, help you create room for connection and understanding. You realize you do not need to carry everything alone. You give the people who care about you a chance to show up for you. And you give yourself the chance to feel less alone in your struggle. Healing becomes possible when you stop hiding. So when your life feels out of control, start by admitting it to yourself. Let the truth sit in your heart without shame. Let the honesty guide you slowly back to balance. This moment of acknowledgement may seem small, but it is the foundation of every transformation that will follow. You cannot fix everything today, but you can begin today, and that beginning starts with a single brave sentence. My life feels overwhelming right now, and that is okay because I am ready to understand it and move forward one step at a time. When you feel life is out of control, it can be easy to believe, ease yourself, but the second or overwhelmed. And the truth is you'll hold even if you are still here and you have lost yourself here. Feeling out of control does not mean you are broken. It means you are human. It means you are moving through a season that is stretching you in ways you did not expect. It means you are being pushed toward a deeper understanding of yourself, even if the path feels confusing and painful right now. There are times when life becomes so loud with stress, problems, doubts, and pressure that you lose sight of your own strength. You start to question yourself. You start to wonder if you are failing or falling apart. But feeling lost is not the same as being lost. Sometimes you simply become disconnected from the calm, stable part of you because life has been pulling you in too many directions at once. When your emotions feel heavy or when your thoughts feel scattered, it does not erase who you truly are. It only means you are tired and stretched thin. Deep inside you, there is still a part of you that remembers your dreams, your values, your resilience, and your hope, even if you cannot feel it in this moment. There is still a part of you that is stronger than the chaos you are facing. When life becomes overwhelming, you do not lose your identity. You simply lose access to it for a while. Your strength does not disappear. It only becomes quiet under the noise of everything you are carrying. Many people mistake difficult emotions for personal failure. They think being overwhelmed means they are weak. They think struggling means they are not capable. They think crying means they are broken. But none of that is true. You can feel overwhelmed and still be strong. You can feel scared and still be brave. You can feel lost and still be on the right path. Your emotions are not evidence of failure. They are evidence that you are alive and feeling and moving through something that matters. Sometimes losing control is the moment that forces you to rediscover who you are without all the expectations you have been trying to meet. It strips away the layers of pressure and perfection you have carried for years. It brings you to a place where you must face yourself with honesty and compassion. And in that raw, honest place, you begin to reconnect with the part of you that has always been steady. You remember that you have survived every difficult moment before this one. You remember that you have wisdom inside you that comes from every challenge you have endured. You remember that your worth has never been measured by how perfectly you handle life. The feeling of being out of control is often a sign that you are entering a new chapter. You are growing, and growth rarely feels comfortable. When life pushes you beyond your limits, it is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to show you the strength you forgot you had. It is trying to guide you back to yourself so you can rebuild from a place of truth rather than pressure. So when you say your life feels out of control, remind yourself that you have not lost yourself. You are still here. You are still capable. You are still becoming. This moment may feel heavy, but it will not last forever. You will reconnect with your strength. You will find your balance again. You will rise with a deeper understanding of who you are and what you deserve. And when you look back, you will see that you were never broken. You were simply evolving into a stronger version of yourself. When your life feels out of control, it can be overwhelming you must everything at once, for you to have inside you, you do not need to put your finally mapped out, and you do not need to, not the thing is you do not read at once, but the truth that you must fix everything to the first step toward regaining balance is to pause and breathe. Pausing does not mean giving up. Pausing does not mean failure. Pausing means that you are giving yourself permission to slow down and to reconnect with your own center so that you can move forward with clarity and intention. Taking a breath may sound simple, but it is a powerful act. Each inhale allows you to draw in strength, and each exhale allows you to release tension and fear. Breathing reminds you that you are alive, that you are present, and that you have the ability to respond rather than react. When life feels chaotic, it is easy to get swept up in the whirlwind of responsibilities, problems, and emotions, but pausing gives you the space to see things from a calmer perspective. It allows you to recognize what is truly important and what can wait. It allows you to remember that your peace matters just as much as everything else in your life. Pausing also gives you the chance to observe your thoughts without judgment. When your mind is racing, it can feel like you are trapped in a storm of fear and doubt. Pausing allows you to step back and notice that these thoughts are not permanent, they are not absolute, and they do not define you. You can acknowledge them without letting them control you. You can choose which thoughts to hold on to and which to release. This act of mindfulness is a subtle form of regaining control because it reminds you that even when life is chaotic, you have the power to direct your attention and energy. Breathe and pause in life does not have to be perfect in order for you to be okay. You do not need to fix everything in one day or carry all of your responsibilities alone. You can take one step at a time and focus on what is manageable in this moment. Control is not about having power over every circumstance. It is about choosing how you respond to each circumstance. When you pause and breathe, you create a space where thoughtful choices can emerge. You create a space where calm can replace anxiety and clarity can replace confusion. It is also in the act of pausing that you allow yourself to feel your emotions fully without judgment. You give yourself permission to feel sadness, anger, frustration, or fear. You allow these feelings to exist without seeing them as a weakness. Emotions are signals that guide you toward understanding what you need and what matters most. By pausing, you honor your inner world and you strengthen your connection with yourself. So when your life feels out of control, remember that you do not need to fix everything at once. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to prove your strength by moving without rest. Pause and breathe. Pause and notice. Pause and choose one small action that brings you closer to peace. One conscious breath can lead to another. One mindful moment can lead to another. And slowly over time, the chaos begins to settle. You begin to feel grounded. You begin to feel capable. You begin to feel that you are not at the mercy of life, but are a participant in shaping it. The simple act of pausing and breathing can transform overwhelm into presence and uncertainty into clarity, and it reminds you that even in the midst of care, you're powerless. When life is out of control, it is often because they have the care and is resting on your chariot of the world, and it can feel laything yours often. It can try and chaos, you are never powerless. Of chaos, you are never powerless. You have been trying to be strong for everyone else, to solve every problem, to meet every expectation, and to keep everything together. And in the process, you forget that you are human. You forget that you are allowed to ask for help, that you are allowed to lean on others, that you do not need to do it all alone. Trying to carry everything by yourself is exhausting, and it is not sustainable, and it is not a measure of your strength. It is simply a sign that you need support. There is a misconception that asking for help is a weakness, that needing support means you are failing, but nothing could be further from the truth. Reaching out is a courageous act because it requires honesty about what you can and cannot handle. It requires vulnerability to admit that you are struggling, and it requires trust to let others step in to help you. Strength is not in doing it all alone. Strength is in knowing your limits and having the wisdom to ask for guidance when you need it. When you try to do everything alone, you create a constant state of tension inside yourself. Your mind races, your body feels tight, and your heart carries a burden that never seems to lighten. You may even feel guilty for needing help or for wanting a break, and that guilt only adds to the weight you are carrying. But when you allow yourself to seek support, when you let others and you begin to experience relief, you begin to see that life is not a solo journey, and that sharing your struggles does not diminish your value, it enhances it, because it allows you to connect with the people who care about you. Letting go of the idea that you must manage everything alone also allows you to focus on what truly matters. You begin to prioritize your energy instead of spreading it thin over countless responsibilities. You begin to see that some things can wait, some problems are not yours to solve alone, and some expectations do not define your worth. When you release the need to be in control of everything, you create space for calmness, clarity, and balance to enter your life. Support can come in many forms. It can come from friends, family, mentors, or even professional guidance. It can come from someone who listens without judgment, someone who shares your load, or someone who simply reminds you that you are not alone. Every time you accept help, you strengthen your resilience, because you are learning that strength does not exist in isolation. Strength exists in connection, compassion, and the courage to admit that life is bigger than any one person can handle alone. So when your life feels out of control, remember that you do not need to carry it all by yourself. You do not need to solve every problem alone. You do not need to pretend that you are fine when you are struggling. Let go of the pressure to do it all and allow yourself to receive support. Let go of the expectation that you must be unshakable at all times, and embrace the reality that asking for help is a sign of wisdom and strength. Life becomes more manageable when you share the load, when you acknowledge your limits, and when you allow others to walk beside you. And in doing so, you will discover that you are never truly alone, and that your strength grows not by carrying everything, but by knowing when to let go and let others. Feels others help control. It is easy to focus only on the chaos around you. For that true control begins within. Lights out to help you, others within. You cannot always change the circumstances you face, but you can always choose how you respond to them. Control does does not come from forcing life to behave the way you want it to behave. Control comes from choosing your actions, your thoughts, and your attitudes in every moment, even when everything around you seems unpredictable. When you focus on what you can influence rather than what you cannot, you regain a sense of power and stability that no external event can take away. Often we spend too much energy worrying about things beyond our control. We fret about other people's choices, the outcomes of situations, and the speed at which life unfolds. This constant effort to manage the uncontrollable only increases stress and anxiety. But when you shift your attention inward, when you recognize that your choices, your mindset, and your perspective are within your power, you create a foundation for stability even amidst chaos. You discover that control is not about domination over circumstances, but about mastery over yourself. Choosing one small action in a moment of overwhelm can be transformative. It may be choosing to set a boundary that protects your energy. It may be choosing to speak your truth in a situation that has been suffocating you. It may be choosing to rest when exhaustion has been weighing you down. These seemingly small choices are acts of reclaiming control. They remind you that your life is not entirely at the mercy of external forces and that you have the capacity to make decisions that honor your well-being and your values. Control begins with awareness. You must first notice where your attention is going, what thoughts are dominating your mind, and what behaviors are keeping you trapped in stress or fear. Awareness allows you to pause before reacting and to respond with intention rather than impulse. It allows you to step out of the automatic patterns that have been running your life and to create new patterns that serve you. Awareness is the gateway to all other forms of control because you cannot change what you do not see. Discipline and consistency are also essential aspects of regaining control. When life feels chaotic, it is tempting to neglect routines or to let structure slip away. But returning to small, consistent habits like managing your time, mindfully caring your body and mind, and dedicating moments to reflection or gratitude creates a framework that anchors you. These habits do not control life itself, but they control your response to it. And that is the kind of control that fosters confidence and resilience. Remember that regaining control does not mean controlling everything. It does not mean eliminating uncertainty. Life will always have unpredictable elements, but by choosing your reactions, focusing on small, deliberate actions, and nurturing awareness, you reclaim the power that chaos may have stolen. Every time you practice choosing your response rather than reacting impulsively, you strengthen your sense of agency. Every time you focus on what you can control rather than what you cannot, you build resilience that carries you through storms and challenges. So when your life feels out of control, remind yourself that true control begins within. It begins with awareness, it begins with intention, and it begins with the small, deliberate choices you make each day. You cannot dictate the world, but you can guide yourself. You cannot predict every event, but you can master your responses. You cannot control everything, but you can control yourself. And in doing so, you create a life that feels less chaotic and more aligned with your values and your strength. In the midst of chaos, when life feels out of control, remember that this moment does not define you. You are not broken and you have not lost yourself. Pause and breathe, acknowledge your feelings, and allow yourself the grace to be human. Let go of the illusion that you must carry everything alone and embrace the support and connection around you. Focus on the small choices you can make, the actions you can take, and the control you can reclaim within yourself. Growth often comes disguised as discomfort, and strength is built not in perfection, but in persistence, courage, and honest self-reflection. Step by step, choice by choice, breath by breath, you will rise from the storm stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Your life may feel out of control now, but with awareness, intention, and compassion for yourself, you are creating the foundation for a future filled with balance, clarity, and peace.